Hi and welcome back. My name's Faye. I am a UK-based wedding photographer shooting weddings all over the world. And this video is going to be an Ask Me Anything. I came into photos via YouTube. I consume a lot of YouTube. Anytime I ever want to get a new bit of kit or I'm thinking about something in my business or I need help, I always start on YouTube, and a lot of the creators that I really love and follow always do Ask Me Anything. So I thought I'd be brave. I was a bit scared that I was going to put the question box on my phone and no one was going to, like on my Instagram, and no one was going to ask me anything and I was going to be sat there like a lemon. But I have actually got quite a few questions. So if you do not already follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Faye Wilde Photography. That's where I show up and share a lot of my client work. I am an actively working photographer. I know a lot of educators don't do so many weddings these days. I am still very much a full-time wedding photographer that does education on the side. I was a teacher for 10 years before this, and I really miss it. So my education business is like my way of helping other people. I get a lot of joy from helping other people and sort of nurturing that side and just, going in. I feel like if you taught for 10 years, it's a big part of who you are. And I really love that with Faye Wilde Education. I'm now able to do that stuff because it is something that brings me a lot of joy. But you can see my wedding work via faywildephotography.com or follow it along on Instagram if you want to see any of my work. And that's where I asked these questions. So thank you so much if you're watching this for your answer because you submitted a question. So I'm just going to go through these in no particular order. There's loads of different ones. I'll do as many as I can. I've given myself a set time and we'll try and do as many as we can. So how long does it take to edit a wedding? This really is such a long-winded answer for me. First bit is obviously going through and culling the images. This takes anything from 2 to 3 hours normally. So normally I'll be able to do a big chunk of it on my break at the wedding, but then I will always have extra to do when I get home. That's just the culling. And I do a base cull at first. So this is just the ones that I'm going to back up. So I'll back up all group photos, all couple photos, and then I'll go through every single other image and just do a base cull. So any that I think could end up in the gallery. And those are the only ones that I back up. I don't overshoot these days. I'm quite good at knowing what I like and not taking the photo. And my second shooter team are getting better and better at that as well. So that bit is getting quicker. And then the actual edit. So I've been trialing Imagine this year. I'm really not sure if I'm going to continue with it or not. It is saving me some time. It's just so expensive. So for the amount that I spend on it, I'm not sure that it will be a long-term thing. But at the moment, I like that it's giving me it's balancing the white balance and the exposure and all of that stuff, which does make things a lot quicker. So I've got more time to edit out plug sockets and stuff like that. But typically, so the last wedding gallery that I delivered took me 27 hours to edit because I time myself when I'm editing. It took me 27 hours and that's after Imagine. So you can imagine how long it took me before that. And I'm quite productive, to be fair, but I go through, I hand edit every single image. Even if it's been through Imagine, I'll still go in, tweak every image, get rid of distractions. And then the culling process after I finish, that's the biggest bit as well. I'll go through, I'll make sure that we've not got lots of the same composition, just to make sure that the storytelling is good. I'll go through and do things like make sure it's portrait landscape or we've got a good mix of black and white and colour. So the base edit is not the longest bit. The bit that takes the longest for me is the culling and then culling again and then culling again and then putting everything beautifully in the gallery. A big thing that I'm working on this year is the experience of viewing the photos. So with that in mind, that's what takes a lot longer. Destination travel must-haves that are not camera related. I invested in a priority pass this year, which means that I get access to the lounges. I'm really happy about this because it means that normally I get a table, not always because the lounges do get quite busy, but I like to be as efficient as I can be when I travel because I'm normally traveling without my family and without my son, so I want to get as much work done as I can while I'm away so that when I'm at home I can be present with my family. So the priority pass is something that I invested in. I think it was 450 quid. Massively recommend it. That's a must-have. Sun cream, obviously. I always recommend getting the minis that you can put into your bag and the bigger ones. Bug spray, so I use the D roll-on. I don't know what it is, maybe it's my blood type, I don't know, but I get absolutely annihilated by mosquitoes. So I wear mozzie patches, The roll-on, definitely not the spray, because you ingest it and it just makes you want to die. It's so bad. The roll-on also stays on for longer, and it's easier to see where you've rubbed it in. What else is a must-have? I'd say sunglasses, but I dropped my sunglasses in the sea in Portofino last year. I was there with Nicole Martin Photography, and I've still not replaced them. Another destination travel must-have is going with a really good team. I include second shooters with all of my weddings now, pretty much my all-day weddings. So it's really important to me that I've got someone that is just good vibes, someone that drives so that we can split the driving, or even better if they want to drive so I can edit when I'm in the car. Like I said, I really don't like to waste time when I'm away from my family, because when I'm at home I want to be fully present with my little boy, especially because he starts school in September, so I feel like the days are just disappearing before my eyes. Juggling parenting, when do you have no work time? Do you mostly work while the child sleeps? Yes. It's interesting. I've weirdly just filmed a video about this. I'll pop a link below. So juggling parenting is just that, it's a juggle. And the biggest bit of advice that I'd give you is to just treat each week as it comes, do your best, and then the week after try and do a bit better. Like, that's literally all you can do. I feel like it took me a really long time to find any sort of rhythm when it comes to work. I feel like I definitely did not get the balance right for a really long time. And even now, like, we're navigating a big life change at the moment because Jamie's had to go part-time to help with childcare, which has made things even worse, because now I get so jealous when they get to go out and spend the day together and I'm at work. So as much as I can, I want to be as present as possible with the boys on my down days. For me at the moment, that looks like a lot of late nights. Like, typically Frank will go to bed at 7. I will start working at 7. I'll read him his bedtime story. He'll go to bed, and then I will probably work until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's tricky because quite often the evenings is when you spend time with your partner, so I don't always want to be working during that time. But we tend to, at the moment, spend a lot of our time together in the day. And even me and Jamie, if we're having date days and stuff, we'll do it when Frank's at nursery, so we get that uninterrupted quality time. I feel like working at night works really well for me because not a lot of people are awake. In the day, if I respond to a, I'll get one back straight away, and I get a bit overwhelmed because I just can't seem to get on top of my workflow. Whereas if I am doing work at night and I reply to emails, I've got a little bit of a breathing period before I get a wave of replies. So yeah, mostly while Frank's asleep, but sometimes Jamie will take him out and I will have the house to myself if I've got calls. Work days are always protected, so if I've got a wedding, I tend to be away for a couple of days at least. Most of my weddings are not in the local area, so most times I will stay over for 2 nights, and that's normally enough to get most of the culling and the base edit and stuff done when I'm away. So then all the other stuff and lots of late nights. Like, I cannot remember the last time. We're in April, coming to the end of April. I've probably gone to bed no earlier than 1:30 for the last 4 months. It's been pretty full on, so yeah. Nighttime. Thoughts on Godox V1 versus profoto. So obviously the biggest thing here is price, because if money was no object, everybody would just get the profoto. The biggest thing is usability. So profoto has just got a wheel that changes the exposure. The TTL mode, the auto mode, is also immaculate. And weirdly, I had a really big event this week and it was red with loads of velvet, big vast room, but people moving. And long story short, I used TTL mode on the profoto for the first time ever. I've always previously done manual, and I don't know why I didn't try it out sooner because it is so good. I do feel like it uses more battery though, so I do have a spare battery, luckily. But yeah, I've always been using manual, but even using manual, it's just so user friendly. With the Godox, because I do a lot of flash training at workshops, the settings that I used to use was 1/32 or 1/64, and then I control it with the ISO. That's what I recommend that you do, because the Godox flashes are not the most user-friendly. It's quite awkward to figure out which button does what. Once you get the hang of it, it's fine, but it's still not the easiest thing in the world, whereas our cameras, we're used to using them all the time. So what I would recommend is getting the settings right on your Godox. I always shoot on multi-mode, or shot on multi-mode when I used the Godoxes, because that way you can do burst flash if you're doing things like GIFs for Champagne Tower, and then I would control the ISO on my camera. Normally, I'd go 1/50 or 1/64, and then you just want to be 6 foot away from your subject at all times. If you're a bit further away, like first dance, for example, you're 10 foot away, then put it up to 1/100, but you always want to be controlling it on your camera, not on your flash, is the advice that I'd get. Both are good. Godox is a lot cheaper, but the profoto is the best, not gonna lie. Any tips for smashing editorial style daytime flash photos? Yes. Follow the same rules that you would with direct sun. So even though you're going to be using bounce flash, it's still going to have some shadows on the face if the sun is in the wrong position in comparison to your subject. So as a general rule, what I'd say is if your subject is here and the sun's behind them, you want to be touching the shadow of your the head of your subject's shadow. I.e., if they're stood there, sun's behind them, their head, their shadow should be touching you. That's where you should be stood. If it's even at a slight angle, you're going to get some harsh shadows across the face. That's not what you want. So even when you are using full flash to give it a bit more light and vibrancy, you still want the sun to be directly behind them as much as you can. With low light, it's not as important, but with direct flash, it's really important. But as a general rule, with low light, I would have the sun directly behind you, directly onto your subject. Again, we're trying to avoid sideways light as much as we can. Fave wedding trend to date. That's a really hard one. Okay, I've just thought about it and I think it's Segway speeches. I didn't know that that's what they were called. I saw a video by a photographer called Alexandra French, I think, on Instagram saying what they were called, and I never knew what they were called, but I've always loved them. And it's basically where you break up the speeches by getting someone, usually the father of the bride or whoever else is getting married, usually one of the fathers, to do a speech somewhere like on a stairwell or something where the cocktail hour is before everybody goes in for dinner and you resume with the rest of the speeches. I really love it. I feel like it breaks it up. It gives that father or whoever it is that's doing that segue speech a real moment. The reaction photos are really good because you've got more autonomy to move around. There's just so, I just love it. I just think it's such a nice thing to do. Another one that I really love, I mean, there's so many, but another one that I really love is old vintage cars, like really old, like give me a classic Porsche or like a Chevy, just like a gorgeous old money car, and I will be so happy because I just think it's so sexy. The couple feel cool as fuck. Yeah, it's just a whole vibe. Most original detail or event you've seen at a wedding. I mean, like, I've got no idea how to answer this. Okay, I've just had to have a look on Instagram because honestly, I've seen so much that I just didn't know what to do. And then as I was looking down, the thing that most got probably my favourite shoot that I've ever done, which I know you're not supposed to have favourites, but everyone does. But there's so many reasons why it was my favourite, but the main reason is just like how much fun we had. Sarah and Marcus, this gorgeous couple, like as in gorgeous on the inside and outside, but like just lovely people, came over from Canada to Lake Como, and the whole vibe was like sunset, elopement, golden hour. And she'd planned so much, like together, we'd planned it together, but mostly her and just with minimal guidance from me really. But she involved me in the process, and they just wanted to have like loads of dates around Lake Como. They'd booked out this Airbnb which was overlooking this really famous bridge, and they just wanted to like have a date in Nesso, like be in the house and just, well, originally they booked it for the bridge because they'd seen people on the bridge, but also there was a door, there was like a window frame where she'd seen some pictures that she really loved. And then I'm never really one to like copy another photographer's session, like it just doesn't sit right with me. But she really wanted this specific Airbnb, so I suggested having a date day at the Airbnb and just making it a good time of it and just doing what they would normally do and me just following them around, chilling out around the apartment. So we did various shots of them like hanging around in the apartment. There's some where they are in the window frame. But when I say that the inspo pic was just like Lake Como looking gorge and like a couple just there. This was not Sarah and Mark, like they're a spicy couple. So, you know, I'm like doing my thing and I'm like getting them to be into each other, into the moment. And I just looked at Marcus and I was like, just go in there, get your hand like in her hair and just look at her like she's the best thing you've ever seen in your life. And he walks up and I'm not joking, like I was like, go on boy, like this is amazing. And he just looks at her and then unprompted just kisses her, and it's like the hottest kiss that you've ever seen. She obviously wasn't expecting it either, and they're just having this gorgeous moment. And like those are the best ones. They're like, say unprompted, like obviously I gave him a bit of like start. What I try and do when I'm on these sessions is I'll give people a sequence of prompts to try, basically. Like, can you walk over there? Here's something you could try, but just, you know, do whatever comes to your mind. Always lots of movement, but also like knowing when to take a step back and not interfere. And I was so quiet in that moment, and they were just there like snogging for 5 minutes or whatever. And I was just like, how mint is this that I get to, they're gonna show these photos to their kids and be like, we were shit hot. So that sort of set the tone for what was going to be the best shoot ever. And we went outside, and I said like, oh, should we go in the sea? Because I'd seen loads of like just dates, like the trend was like, come on a date with me, let's go on a date. So in my head I was like, what can we do? We're at this amazing Airbnb, like jump in the pool, do this, whatever. So they jump in the lake. And those shots from me on the bridge going down, they're some of my favourite shots that I've ever taken, even to this day. I mean, the shoot was like 18 months ago, but they're still some of my favourites. And that trend of like your photographer just coming with you whilst you do things that feel authentic to you, because you're so much more comfortable in that environment, that's just so special. And honestly, like, I don't think I'll ever get over that shoot. And it just shows why we do the calls and stuff before we say yes to clients, because that vibe is so important. Like, if they had been with a different photographer that wasn't comfortable in that situation, like, I don't think there's many photographers that would have felt like that would have been okay stood there watching them have like the hottest snog of their life and just been like, this is amazing. We got on so well. They felt really safe. They were also, anything that I suggested, they were so up for it. It was just such a good vibe. But I feel like the trend of being on a date, that's what like made the whole thing possible. And yeah, they've just booked me to do their Mallorca wedding, so I'm very happy about this. Right, what inspires your creativity? Movies, photos, art, fashion? What is giving you ideas at the moment? Well, the last shoot that I did, the Lana Del Ruffle one, I'll put a link below. Like, I cried a lot. I was on my period, but I cried a lot. That was based on a song by The Weeknd and Lana Del Rey called The Abyss. Quite often music will inspire me. Like, I'll be listening to music and I'll think about how I'd shoot usually bridal campaigns in my brain. Like, if I had this music on, how would I shoot? And sometimes when I'm editing, well, I always have music on when I'm editing, but sometimes I will pick specific music if I know the vibe that the couple wanted. So if the couple wanted like a really cool gallery with like immersive, like in the wedding, nothing too formal or stuffy, I might put on like 80s bangers, but like not talking girls just want to have fun or anything. Was that 90s? I don't know. We're not talking like Cyndi Lauper. We're talking like hot 80s music, like electronic, really funky, that sort of vibe. If it's like a really dreamy romantic day, I might whack a bit of them. I just love music, and I feel like music is probably the one thing I've always got on in the background. It brings me so much peace. I don't know whether it's because of my ADHD, but there's just something about it that just gives me so much peace. So I'd say music is definitely number one. Very close second is fashion. I'm obsessed with fashion. I sometimes I'm afraid to say that out loud, because I wouldn't say personally I am the most fashionable person. I feel like, well, it's getting a bit personal now, but I had a hip replacement last year, and before that I put on a lot of weight. I was always very slim and very fit and healthy throughout my 20s, and then until I wasn't, and then I feel like I lost my way. But now that I'm getting back into the gym and stuff, after my hip replacement in January, I'm going shopping all the time and like really starting to be more experimental with fashion and what I'm wearing, and finding so much more joy in choosing my outfits for weddings. And also, I've always been very involved in the dress or the outfit. My couples are always sending me pictures when they're at fittings. Like, quite often I will get sent pictures of the dress before, which is wild to me. But yeah, the fashion is something that really inspires me as well. And with the workshops, the Faye Wilde workshops, I always try to get inspiration from the fashion world before I do anything to do with weddings. I never want to copy anything that any of my peers have done. So I find that I actually mute a lot of wedding-specific accounts and prefer to focus on things like influencers, fashion, music videos, all that stuff, because I feel like it's easier to interpret it in a unique way with your own perspective, rather than getting overwhelmed with the noise of how somebody else has interpreted it. And I don't know if I'm making sense, but yes, music and fashion. And then another thing as well that I would say is that I'm a highly sensitive person, and I'm very aware. Like, I'd say that it's something that I intentionally do. I try to be as present as possible at all times. But when I'm in a shoot, let's say in a shooting situation at a wedding or for a couple session, I'm always paying attention to everything, like all the little details. So predominantly the environment and where we are. Why have we chosen this space? What is it about this venue? And so much of where we are determines the approach that I'll take with the prompts that I use. So if it's like a really derelict old building, I'll probably be a bit cooler with my approach. If it's really romantic, I might go, I'd never say I'm super traditional, but maybe I'll do more like Marie Antoinette poses, or I'll think about more of a Bridgerton vibe. Maybe I'll put the Bridgerton soundtrack on my phone. Again, bringing in that music, but just to enhance the vibe. But ultimately, it's the setting around me. The clothes, which kind of links to the fashion, which we've already said, that's a big thing. Like the outfits that the couple have picked say so much about what they want their day to be about and what they want their story to be about. So yeah, it's just paying attention to the details that have been curated, and even past the curation bit, just the natural environment around you, just being open to being swayed by that as well, I think is important. Okay, what is the hardest thing about your job? Wow, this is a hard question to answer. I wouldn't say that I find my job hard, because I really enjoy it. Like, I do a lot of hours and it's a lot of work, but I really enjoy it. The only time I find it hard is late at night, if I'm not able to stay over and I have to drive home and it's like 2-3 hours, it's really late at night, everyone that I love is already asleep. I find those drives really isolating, and that's one of the main reasons why now I try to stay over if I can, because my mental health on those drives is not good. Like, there's something about driving at home in the dark of night and everyone that you love being asleep that just makes me feel very lonely. And it's the weirdest thing, because you've been at a wedding all day and you are surrounded by people and you're having all these conversations, but it's normally quite surface level, and obviously by the end everybody's quite pissed. So in theory you've been socialising all day, but it's this weird thing for me at least, where the more I have something, the more I want it. So if I've been out with the girls on the Tuesday and then I've not got plans on the Wednesday, I'm like, oh, this is shit, I want to go out with the girls again. And I feel like because you get that socialisation at the wedding, you are in like chatty mode and you want to chat to people, and like, but not like of the, you want to like chat, but to your own people. You want to catch up, tell your partner what you've been up to, do this, do that, but not being able to because of the time of night and having those long drives in the dark. That's the hardest bit of my job. The unsociable hours are all right. They're not easy, but they're all right. They're doable. But the drives really late at night, that's the thing that I find the hardest. That's the one thing that I really, really struggle with. And now I will... But it's why I've built second shooters into my contracts, so I don't have that like lonely stretch quite often. Like, I still, every now and again it'll still happen, but it doesn't happen as much. And also, wherever possible, I'll work with second shooters that live near me, so they can pick me up or drop me off, or vice versa. So I've got company on those long drives, and you can sort of decompress in a safe space with company, and then you go into bed feeling well rested and relaxed, which is really good. How do you deal with imposter syndrome? This is a big one. I don't really know how to answer this. I feel like imposter syndrome to me is when you don't feel like you're good enough to show up in a certain space. I've got a weird relationship with imposter syndrome because I've always been a very anxious person, but I quite like that I'm anxious because I feel like it makes me work really hard. There's various reasons why I'm the way that I am. Mostly my working class background. I'm proud of the way that I am, in the way that I've always felt like I need to be the hardest working person in the room. And I also have quite high functioning anxiety. So it's weird. It's like the more anxious I am, the more hard work I put in, which is quite strange. But imposter syndrome to me is feeling like you don't deserve to be where you are. And I've never really had that. I've always just tried to focus on, I'm doing the absolute best that I can. And that's something that helps me to feel less anxious. In terms of other photographers, I genuinely don't get jealous of other photographers like I am. Maybe that's just my personality. I don't think that if I did get jealous of other photographers, I'd be able to show up in the education space, because I'd always just be coveting their wins that my students were getting or my mentees were getting and wanting them for myself. And I feel like the key and what helps me is just staying in my own lane. Like, I'm so busy working on myself and trying to be the best version of myself that I can be, that I don't have space to be like coveting what other people have. And yeah, of course, sometimes you see stuff and you're like, oh, prime example, my dream has always been to move to Spain. I'm fluent in Spanish. I studied Spanish and Italian at uni. I was a Spanish teacher for 10 years. My dream was always to move to Spain. I married the biggest homebod you've ever met in your life. Like, if he could just have me, Frank, and the cats and the PlayStation and like holidays, that would be his thing. But his thing is like, he loves a holiday, but then to go back home. The thought of moving abroad to him is just hell on earth. And whilst I absolutely adore Spain and want to go there, I love my husband more. And my best friend moving there initially was quite tricky for me to navigate, because I was like, oh, this is like the thing that I've always wanted. It's something that me and Jamie do not argue a lot, but if we do argue, chances are it's because I want to move to Spain and he's still saying no to me. And my best friend in the whole world has just left. So it's like double whammy. My best friend's leaving and it's something that I've coveted so long. But honestly, my approach is like, I'm just so happy for her. And that's the thing, it's like, we can have anything that we want. We can't have everything, but we can have anything that we want. Like, if you were to think about all the different things in your life that you've got, that's something that once upon a time you coveted and you worked for it and you got it. That's what you prioritised. And I think what I've realised going into my 30s is like, if it was that important to me, I would have got it for myself. And that's something that really, really helps me. I don't know if that was too personal to share, or I don't know, but that's something that really helps me. So hopefully it will help you as well if you are somebody that struggles with imposter syndrome. But yeah, stay in your own lane. And if it was that important to you, you'd get it. You wouldn't want it. You'd have it. Right, the last two are the same sort of vibe. It's when are the workshops coming back and when is Align coming back? So we'll finish on these questions. The workshops, I'm taking a little bit of a break because as part of Align, I organise a shoot. So they will be back at some point, but watch this space. The best thing to do is to go on Faye Wilde Education and join the mailing list, because I always share like impromptu shoots. If an opportunity comes up and I get the opportunity to run a shoot, I'll always pop it there. And then in terms of Align, so Align is still running. Like, obviously the launch is long gone. We've got 2 cohorts running simultaneously at the moment, and they both finish on the 1st of June, and then it's wedding season. So Align will be coming back at some point in the autumn. I've got no idea when. I'm definitely not doing 2 cohorts in the autumn. I'm just going to do 1, and I'm really, really, really excited about it. Like, it's actually going to be so weird. The group chats all finish on the 1st of June, which is just over a month away, and it's going to be so weird not having that little community every single day. But it's just so I can prioritise my couples over wedding season. But yes, it should be coming back in the autumn. But again, the best thing to do is to go on faywildeeducation.com and join the mailing list, because there will be a waiting list and I am expecting it to sell out quite quickly, which has been really, really nice, and lots of people messaging me about it. But it's definitely not the time to be running a course. Like, everybody's gearing up for summer. I definitely want to be fully present with my couples, and also, like, I feel like the biggest lessons that I learn usually come after a little break. So it's like I've done Align now, and I just want to like sit with it over the summer and really think about the format and what I want the guests to get out of it. And it also gives guests of cohort 1 and cohort 2 a chance to give feedback, which will again improve the course even more when it comes back in October. But yeah, I've honestly loved it. So yeah, that's it. That's the Q&A done. My first ever Q&A. How did I do? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, if there's any other questions, I'll follow up. And also, please consider subscribing. I'm putting so much time into YouTube this year. It's like my target. And I'm so happy because I wanted 100 subscribers by Christmas. And it's April as I record this video. And we're nearly there already, which is insane. So thank you so much for being here. I really am trying to make this space as informative as possible. Any feedback is always graciously received. And thank you so much for being here. And hopefully see you again soon.